Hey guys, what's going on? Josh here from Polymathics, the YouTube channel that helps you become a modern day Renaissance man. And really quick, I want to go over what's called the 4 C's, and they're the ways that we learn. And this is something that comes from psychology. So really quick, the first C that we have is connections. Whenever we learn something new, we try to make a connection so that it's easier to remember. And the reason is you already have neural pathways that are developed in your mind. And so if you can take a new piece of information and connect it with old pieces of information, it already gives that memory like a strong pathway that's already been developed for your mind to remember it. And so a good example of this from an anecdotal example from my experience would be, as a linguist, when you're trying to memorize new words, you want to relate them with what's called a mnemonic, something that's going to help you remember. It's normally something quirky, whatever really sticks out in your mind. It can be absurd sometimes too. So for example, in Korean, the word for dog is K. So when I learned that, I just literally thought of a dog with a K shaved in its belly. And it was like one of the easiest words for me to memorize. Now, I'm not saying all words are like that, but the point is, this is one of the quickest ways that the mind uses new information, tacks it on with old information to create a type of, it's not a memory, but it allows you to remember it quicker. So the second thing that we do when we're learning new information is we take the new information and see how it challenges the old information that we know. And a good example of this would be the fitness industry. It is flooded with misinformation, and there are so many different schools of thought. There are so many different ways of lifting, exercising, dieting, and one of the biggest problems is that a lot of them conflict and they challenge each other. So if you're coming from one paradigm and some new school of thought comes around and you're reading about it, it's going to challenge the way you think. And sometimes these will be good challenges, and sometimes these will be bad. For example, many Westerners, and Americans in particular, have grown up with the idea of the government's idea of what a healthy diet is. It's called the standard American diet. So SAD. And when you really start looking into health and fitness, what you realize is that the SAD, no matter what you look at, it's going to challenge your belief system almost about whether or not the standard American diet is truly effective. So that's a good example of how our mind uses new information to challenge old ideas and see if they really are worth their salt. And sometimes this can lead to new revelations. Now, the third, let me check my notes here. The third C is concepts. And so what that means is the mind does not learn a new idea in detail the first time. It learns overarching concepts, the broad strokes. So imagine imagine that you are an astronaut and you're going to a new world that you've never been to before. As you approach that new world, imagine it's similar to Earth. The first thing you're going to see is that Google Earth type of view. It's just a circle, and it's blue, and it's got some white and green, patterns throughout. And then as you get closer, you start to see, okay, there are 7 continents and several oceans, and then as you get closer to where you're going to land, you start to see like mountains, and the closer you get, the more detail you get. But the further away you are to something that's new, you're only going to see the broad strokes. Those are concepts. And so that's how the mind likes to learn, is in broader strokes. And then once it gets the big ideas, then it can start going down into the nitty-gritty. And then lastly, the last thing is changes. So once the mind takes the first 3 C's and kind of analyzes them all together, then it starts to make changes, meaning it deconstructs the information that it has, both of the new information and the old information. And then it reconstructs the information in a way that they fit together in a way that your psyche will allow, right? It's kind of strange, but a part that we don't understand is that we kind of shape the way we look at new information. And what's even more trippy, if you study sense and perception, is that we also shape that which we see and hear and feel, and it's kind of crazy. But what happens is, so say you see a documentary on how the stock market works. Well, now what you're going to do is you're going to take that new information, use the first 3 C's to kind of understand it, and then you're going to deconstruct that which you already knew about the stock market. Maybe some myths that didn't prove to be true, maybe some new information that now allows you to be more effective in your investments. And then you're going to reconstruct, almost like a house. You kind of tear down one room and then build it back up bigger with different, different dimensions. Maybe it's larger or something like that. It's the same thing that's going on in your mind, so that now in the future, as you go along your journey in life, you now have a newly constructed perspective on how that infrastructure works. And it's not just obviously investments, it's any new information that you learn. So hopefully this has been helpful. And if you did find this helpful, if you found this engaging, if you'd like to hear more like this, then please, 1, give me a like, and 2, go ahead and subscribe to the channel below. And what that's going to do, it's going to give you all my information as it becomes available. Okay guys, until next time, take it easy.